Hello and welcome to this edition of Access Asia here on France 24. Coming up on the show this week, as international pressure mounts on China over the treatment of the Muslim Uighur minority, we speak to one woman who says her activism resulted in her sister's detention in Xinjiang. Rural women in India lose out after the Indian government bans video sharing app TikTok. And social distancing rules take aim at Japan's geishas, testing an entertainment form that's been around for centuries. We begin with the plight of the Uighur minority in China. The government insisting the camps are vocational training facilities, but rights groups say people in the centers are held against their will and are forced to denounce their language and religion. A recent report alleges China is forcing sterilizations upon women in the province of Xinjiang in an attempt to limit the population. Last year, France 24 reporter spoke to a former teacher in one of the camps. Take a listen.
Every day I had to make the prisoners work. I needed to make them say hundreds of times, thousands of times, "I am Chinese, I am proud of China." They had to say these sentences standing up, saying them loudly, and I had to guide them thousands of times. They had to pronounce their love for Xi Jinping and for the Communist Party. When I went to the class, there were 2 armed policemen following behind me. When I gave the lessons, they stayed behind me. Everything I taught was recorded, and the policemen stayed at the door. Sometimes when I was giving the class, the armed policeman burst into the classroom. 2 or 3 people would be forcibly removed from among the detainees. I never saw those people again. Sometimes in the evening at dinner, we would hear people calling out for help. Those voices, they were the saddest voices I've ever heard. We thought they were being tortured.
To talk more about what's going on with the Uighur minority, we can speak to Uighur American and rights advocate Rushan Abbas, founder and executive director of Campaign for Uyghurs. Thank you very much for speaking to us on the program today. Now, there is slowly an international pressure campaign mounting to penalize China for its actions against the Uighur minority. Why, in your opinion, has it taken this long?
The Chinese government has been spreading disinformation and false narratives. The world has just begun to wake up the reality of how the Chinese regime works. The international community is seeing China as threat to the world democracy. What has happened to the Uyghurs is not just the Uyghur issue, but it's about humanity of the world and the conscience of the world community. Besides, many people are realizing that a government that will lie to entire world community about the deadly virus and making a pandemic from one city, an epidemic from one city, a global pandemic is likely not telling the truth about anything. We see this confirmed in Hong Kong, and now the attention turned to what the Uyghurs have been saying for years. China is a threat to the world community. Chinese officials have changed their story multiple times regarding the concentration camps.
Rushan,
of course, they are now committing
you say your activism has resulted in your sister's detention. How do we know that for sure? Have you tried to get in touch with your sister?
My sister was abducted along with my aunt 6 days after I spoke publicly at one of the think tanks in Washington in September 2018. It's almost 2 years now. I have no idea about her whereabouts. And she's my only living immediate family member back home. But she disappeared. She and my aunt both disappeared on the same day, 6 days after my speech. That's why I say that she was taken as retaliation for my activism, because my sister does not fit in the criteria of what the Chinese government has been saying and the leaked documents laid out. She's a retired medical doctor. She speaks fluent Chinese, so she doesn't need any kind of vocational training.
Are you scared for the safety of your sister, for your own safety, the fact that you're speaking out so much? You're speaking to me now.
No, we all live once, and we need to do the right thing. This is the Chinese government's atrocity against the Uyghurs has been happening ever since the occupation in 1949, China's occupation of our homeland. But since April 2017, the situation has deteriorated rapidly. Everything that made the Uyghurs unique has been treated as an abnormality or a disease to be eliminated. That's why, I have to speak out. I have to do the right thing. If everybody think about their own selfish own interest, who is going to think about the humanity and also what's happening to those millions of voiceless and defenseless people? So I cannot think about my own safety.
Do you fear China has become simply too powerful on the world stage that it can get away with what it wants?
Well, the world community is viewing China like that and giving China for what he wants. If everybody stand up and do what's right, if they don't allow China to manipulate the international communities using their money and the trade threats and the power of the Belt and Road Initiative and the debt trap diplomacy, then we can eliminate China doing such crimes against humanity. But the world community is still being very naive, viewing China as this country, second largest economy and powerful, and allowing China to get away.
Is the world speaking out too late, considering that we've had some estimates, you have put it, 1 million Uyghurs who have been in detention centers and indoctrinated? Is it too little now to act?
According to our numbers, it's far more than 1 million right now. It's more than 3 million. But no, it's not too late to stop China. We need to act now because it's not just about the lives of the Uyghurs. It's about the future of the world. If we don't stop China right now, just look at the Uyghur people today and imagine what kind of future we are living for our children and our grandchildren, and see how the world is going to be, because China is setting next world order. China is changing the rule of law. It's not just what China is doing in our homeland, but they are using that as a pilot program, controlling the entire world and undermining the democracy. So it's not too late to stop China now if we act now.
Rushan Abbas, thank you very much for joining us on the program today. Next, India decided to ban 59 Chinese apps, including TikTok, this following a bloody June border clash between China and India, which resulted in the deaths of at least 20 Indian soldiers. The decision to ban TikTok is hurting rural Indian women particularly hard. Alison Sargent reports.
It's videos like this one that gained Mamta Verma 1.7 million followers on TikTok. Before the Indian government banned the platform this month, the 27-year-old stay-at-home mom was making about €45 a post.
Now there's a ban, I don't know what the future holds. For me personally, it's an enormous loss because the little money I was making with my TikTok account is now gone.
And it's not just about the money. This 35-year-old beautician became known on TikTok for miming along to famous Bollywood movies, ultimately landing a role in a short film.
My life changed after I joined TikTok because housewives could sit at home, make videos, and showcase their talent for the whole world to see.
TikTok turned out to be the perfect platform for the 70% of Indians who live in rural areas. Unlike some other social networking apps, it didn't rely on speaking English or writing well in Hindi, and worked well with low-speed internet.
TikTok gave voice to these women, children, people from minorities who probably could not make it in the otherwise so-called democratic internet spaces.
It's a space that's now been lost to over 100 million Indian TikTokers. Local tech startups are racing to fill the void. Time will tell if the users and the money will follow.
Geishas in Japan have provided entertainment for centuries. They are considered an important part of the country's cultural life. But the coronavirus pandemic has put their distinctive tea ceremonies, dancing, and singing at risk. James Wilson reports.
80-year-old Ikuko moved to Tokyo in 1964 to make her fortune as a geisha girl. The industry has been in trouble for years, but the coronavirus pandemic has made her more pessimistic than ever. Social distancing rules mean geishas have to keep their distance from guests, and they're no longer allowed to pour them drinks or even shake hands. It all makes it difficult for them to give patrons a full experience of their famous hospitality.
今まで通りのお座敷だったら本当に楽しく、いろんなことが喋れたし言えたけど、そんなもん2メーターも離れてお話しするほどこんな辛いことなかったですね。
Japan has been relatively untouched by the coronavirus, with just over 1,000 deaths in a nation of 126 million. But no matter how well the geishas sing or dance, or how witty their conversation is, many people are wary about spending a prolonged period of time in an enclosed space. Others simply don't have the money to spend on entertainment anymore, and bookings at some establishments are down by 95%.
気持ちはもうそうですね。もう何も考えられない。これからどうなるんだろうっていう、もう不安でいっぱいですね。
Becoming a geisha is a long, arduous process. It takes many years and the lessons are expensive. Fewer and fewer women are choosing to enter the profession. So while once in Tokyo's Akasaka region there were more than 400 geishas, now numbers have dwindled to only 20, meaning there is real worry about the industry's long-term future.
And finally, for me, they may be pretty to look at, but they're not so pretty when they sting you. A jellyfish space exhibition has opened at Tokyo's Sunshine Aquarium. It features large panoramic fish tanks where visitors are surrounded by schools of jellyfish. That's it for this edition of Access Asia. From all of us on the team, thank you very much for watching.